Sean here with BaseMint Comics, and I have a Spider-Man Christmas tree mug full of tea. I have listened to my all-time favorite Christmas song, Baby Please Come Home by U2, and I am wearing this kick-ass light-up Spider-Man sweater that my mother-in-law got me years back. So that means I am ready to do my Christmas Advent 25 favorite holiday comics episode. So let's get into this. All right, so Christmas is my favorite holiday. If you get to know me, spend much time with me, it becomes very apparent in that little cutaway where there normally is a bike ride. I put a picture of our Christmas tree. I put it up the morning after Halloween every year. It is a ritual. It gets about anywhere between 5,500 and 6,000 lights on it. My dad taught me how to light a Christmas tree properly when I was a kid. I will get into that story probably on the 23rd, or I know New Comic Book Day is 24th, so I'll probably put something out on the 23rd about one of my non-Christmas comic book Christmas traditions. Meaning, like, it's a bunch of comics that I read at Christmas time that aren't necessarily Christmas comic books. These are Christmas themed. And so on my Instagram, which is BaseMint Comics, I'm getting better about maybe posting stuff there. I don't know. I'm old. I have been doing daily, like, an advent calendar of counting down my 25 favorite issues leading up to Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, which I read very specific Christmas comics on those days that I have since they came out. Those are the two that, like, you know, are the big ones for me growing up, ones that I was like ground level for. Anyways, so let's get into it. So this isn't a 3-hour video as I talk about Christmas comics. So first up, Fantastic Four number 361, Miracle on Yancey Street. Like the Cornerbacks Classics and stuff like that, I normally have the dates written on the back, like when they came out, who wrote them. I don't have that for every single one of these, but you know, you get. So Ben Grimm gets a buddy of his that he grew up with in the old gang, his kid's in trouble. And so he reaches out to Ben during the holiday season. Ben is obviously Jewish and celebrating Hanukkah. And so this is sort of, you know, a mixed bag of both holidays. I enjoy the heck out of this issue. Dr. Doom is weirdly placed in there. And in my own headcanon, because he's a little bit not doomy in this, I just pretend it's like an errant Doom bot. So that's Fantastic Four 361. A great Christmas cover. Up next, Marvel Team Up number 127. Probably should have taken these out of the Mylars. If there is a glare, my apologies. Marvel Team Up 127. Spider-Man is at a Christmas party, and there is a super bummed out Santa Claus there who basically, you know, his kid's in trouble, and so Spider-Man, you know, splits from the Christmas party and goes to help his kid with a little bit of help from the Watcher. That's a good one. Okay, this one is full-on 90s. Amazing Spider-Man number 420. I should have taken these out of the Mylar. I'm going to do it. I should probably pause for this. Amazing Spider-Man 420. You know, this is featuring in the late 90s. X-Man got pulled into some Spider-Man stuff during this, and basically Pete is sort of sent to Nate Gray is doing some like street level kind of miracles, you know, or helping people out. And so J. Jonah Jameson wants Pete to do kind of a human story piece on it, but like Nate obviously being a telepath, the second Pete shows up, knows that he's Spider-Man, and hilarity ensues because in this universe Nate has only ever known superheroes trying to fight him. So it starts this really kind of interesting friendship between Pete and Nate Gray. And I always thought that was fun as a kid. Okay, up next, Iron Man number 254, where Spy Master dresses up as Santa Claus and messes up a Stark International Christmas party. Hilarious. Anytime you can get Iron Man or Santa shooting a blaster on a cover, that's good stuff. Captain America number 292. This has 0 Christmas on the cover, but it is a Christmas issue because Bernie Rosenthal, one of my favorite Captain America characters, throws a kick-ass Christmas party in this issue. So it counts. It counts. One of my least favorite covers in this Christmas countdown thing that I have going on, this is probably my least favorite of the covers, is X-Men number 165. Claremont is the king of getting Christmas stories right. He is peppered throughout here in multiple issues. This was one of the last ones that he did. I enjoyed it. There's one that he did that I did not enjoy. We'll get to that later. This one I do enjoy. They kind of help folks out at a hospital that has some issues going on, and I kind of put a good foot forward for mutants in this, but not my favorite cover. This one's a bizarre one, but it's super fun. Marvel 2-in-1, Thing and the Ghost Rider. This is issue number 8, Silent Night, Deadly Night. And I mean, come on. Thing and Ghost Rider on a motorcycle. This one is crazy. This one's like, there's a town that's sort of been turned into Bethlehem, and there's a star, and it's, is it really Jesus? Is it not? It's a weird one. It's a fun one. You've got a lot of existential stuff with Ghost Rider here, kind of dealing with his whole bag. I think, if I remember correctly, I believe this is the first time that Ghost Rider and Thing interact, which, it's always a blast when you're kind of like going through the timeline of your comics as you're reading them, how I am with the Corner Box Classic thing, and you kind of run into these like, oh, this is the first time these heroes meet up. That's fun. I obviously take quite a bit of heat from my friends for being pretty much 99.9999% a Marvel guy. But what are you going to do? This one ties into a classic Sean Screw-Up Christmas story from when I was a kid. And this is the only non-Marvel issue in this. And it is Michelangelo, number 1 in a 1-issue micro series. So this is the Mirage era, Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, first Ninja Turtle stuff. And this is, they like did one-shots of all the characters, and this is the Michelangelo one, and it is a Christmas issue because our pal Mikey catches wind of some goons that have stolen a popular toy, a truck full of a popular toy, and so Mikey to the rescue helps the kids out by messing up some goons and getting that truck back. However, so how this ties into my youth, I was obviously, I grew up in the 80s, and I was a big Ninja Turtle fan, and my parents had gotten me a bunch of the early Ninja, number 1, like the Mirage, the big ones. But being a relatively young child at the time, I was upset that they were in black and white, so my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1, I colored it in with crayons so that it looked like the cartoon. And a lot of my pals find that to be a hilarious, some of them find that to be a heartbreaking story, some of them find that to be a hilarious story, and I have one friend who spun it that, hey, it's the only issue colored by me. So I have that going for me. All right. So up next is another Uncanny X-Men classic. This one's written by Steven Seagle, not Chris Claremont. And it is Ghost of Xmas Past. Because it's real easy with X-Men comic books to pull out the old Xmas. you know, that just gets thrown around willy-nilly. But this is a great Chris Pacello drawn kind of a night before Christmas. Peter is visited by a ghost from his past, and it's just a very sweet story. And Professor Xavier drinks tea in that issue and wants to have a chat with Peter. So here's the tea. Up next, another one of my favorite Christmas covers. This would be Amazing Spider-Man number 166, the second part of a two-parter where Stegron just absolutely messes up Kurt Connor's family Christmas. And so Kurt Connors is like, I'm going to turn into the Lizard just to mess him up. And hilarity ensues, as it usually does when those types of things happen, until, you know, the early 2000s when they went really dark with the Lizard. But back then, this was just fun, like, you know, short snout Doc Connors. It's fun. Look at that cover. It's great. My least favorite of the X-Men Christmas specials is X-Men number 109, this 100-page monster, because they backed it up with a bunch of Christmas jams in the back. But the A story in this, the reason why I don't like it is it's because it's the issue where they sort of end the Betsy Braddock, Warren Worthington relationship, and I didn't like it. I wasn't a fan. So this one always like, I'm like, yeah, I'll read it begrudgingly. That's like, I'm spite reading this one. It's not at the top of my list. Okay, so next, one that also doesn't look very Christmassy, but if you look real hard. Merry Christmas, Daredevil. Daredevil number 253. This is kind of a fun one because it's like Matt's having a pretty good Christmas for as crazy as Matt's life is. And this sort of like the B story is like how much like it pisses. Kingpin is very Scrooge-esque in this issue. And it's just good stuff. You know, Daredevil is a fantastic character. And it's nice that, okay, I've switched one of these up when I was doing this, so I'll have to go over there and grab it, because I was like, I didn't read Marvel Team Up 127. That one was throwing me off, and it was another Daredevil issue that I pulled into this. So not the only time that Daredevil is going to appear in this, but there's actually going to be 26 issues because I forgot that Marvel Team Up issue. I hadn't read it yet because it's coming up this year in the Cornerbox Classics. So I was like, I'll save it for that. Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 112, a Peter David written classic. This is another Pete helps out, you know, some people in need Christmas tale. And this one involves a scumbag Santa who basically gets intel on people from the kids. Like, he's like the mall Santa. And like he gets intel on family homes and stuff from the kids so that he can show up and rob their houses. What a jerk. That's not Christmassy at all. All right. Uncanny X-Men number 119. The X-Men fight Moses Magnum. This is right before like, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on at this time period in the X-Men. And this issue, while not like overly Christmas throughout the entire thing, it ends with them back at the mansion, and Banshee has had his vocal cords injured in battle, and he's been in the hospital. And he leaves the hospital, but none of the X-Men are there. And he's super bummed out about it. And he's like, how come none of my friends came to visit me? They visited me, but how come they're not here to like welcome me home? And, you know, he's kind of, and then he gets home and there's a big Christmas party with a big Merry Christmas, Sean, which I always liked because I was like, hey, Merry Christmas to me from the X-Men. So that's why this one's so high up on the list. Plus they fight Moses Magnum and it's fun. There's a great panel of Colossus getting like smashed by Moses Magnum, and he like, Peter like flies back and his hands digging there, and John Byrne drew it, and it's great. And Peter's like, he's kind of been getting his ass handed to him for a little bit, few issues, you know, and he's finally had it. So he's like this, like he dusts himself off and is like, that's it. Like I gotta be Colossus, and it's just a good, fun, solid moment. Okay, then I went and switched it up and pulled out the giant size holiday grab bags. And these are obviously reprints. There's sometimes the occasional, like, I don't know if this is a reprint, but there is a great Black Widow Christmas tale in here drawn by Gene Colan. And the A story in this is a reprint of Marvel Team Up #1, which is a Christmas issue. Have yourself a Sandman Little Christmas, where Spidey and the Human Torch team up to take on Sandman at Christmas time. So that is a blast. Then the next day was the second holiday grab bag issue, and these things look awesome under the Christmas tree. Hanging, look at this back cover. Look at this front cover, and then the back cover where they're jumping through the holly wreath. But this one has a great Frank Springer drawn Nick Fury Christmas story. And look at that. Look at that title page. That is badass. So that's awesome. You know, there's other good, somewhat Christmassy stuff in here. There's a couple things that are. There's a Power Man and Iron Fist, and you got a Doctor Strange story in here, and it's big and awesome and cool looking. And then the next night was, we followed it up with 1976 holiday grab bag, and there in the back you got all those cool cats. And this one has a snowball fight story between the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. And then it reprints the old Even an Android Can Cry issue. That's a good one. And it's just, these are fun to see all done up. Yeah. So those are the holiday grab bags. So then after that, X Factor #27. This one, I think this, like, in continuity would fall directly after the, oh man, I'm going to draw a blank. Fallen Angels, the 80s miniseries, not great, where they introduced, like, Boom Boom, Richter, a couple other characters. And so then those characters wind up showing up to Ship, which was Apocalypse's ship. And basically, like, Bobby makes a big ice Christmas tree on the top of here. And they, the Fallen Angels kids wind up delivering presents to kids in a hospital. And so that's always good. I see that on the regular at this time of the year, and I appreciate it. And then this one has, you know, if you're gonna, I mean, Apocalypse saying Merry Christmas. Who'd have thunk it? That's awesome. That's worth the 75 cents that you would have paid for this in 1988. I will see a Walt Simonson drawn Apocalypse wishing X Factor a Merry Christmas any day of the week. Okay, next. This is the last one that I would have read this last night, so this was the last one that I've done. The rest of them are the ones that are tonight through Christmas. This one is awesome. It is Spider-Man's Tangled Web #21, Twas the Fight Before Christmas, written and drawn by Darwin Cook. It's so good. I mean, look at the cover, and like the barcode is a tag on the present. The title is Twas the Fight Before Christmas, and it's got a Daily Bugle Christmas party that's going awry. JJ makes Peter go and get his wife a Christmas present, and you know, Flash Thompson is dressing up as Spider-Man at the mall, and the puppet master thinks that he's the actual Spider-Man when he goes to the mall, so he's like, oh, I gotta F him up, and it's just Flash Thompson. And, you know, the art's spectacular. Like, Darwin Cook is so good. Was so good. But look at that double page spread of Spidey swinging through there with a sack full of toys. it's a blast. And you can find this in like dollar bins, which is a shame because it's worth way more than that. Okay, I'm going to pause here for a second and grab that Daredevil book that I switched out for the Marvel Team Up and another thing that I see hanging out here because it's not a Christmas issue, but it's one of my favorite Christmas covers. All right, I'm back. So the issue that I swapped out for the Marvel Team Up issue this year was Daredevil Volume 3, Number 7, the Mark Waid and Samney, the first Mark Waid and Samney run. And I was remiss when I read this. I like grabbed an issue that I really enjoyed off of this Daredevil run when I met Mark Waid back at Motor City Comic Con this year, had him sign that, and then I was like, oh man, I love Christmas issues so much and I read them every year. I should have had him, like, and I don't think this was Samney, this was, yeah. I gotta double check because that wasn't Chris Samney. I just gave the Paulo Rivera. Yeah, and this is everyone kind of knows this issue because it's the Matt Murdock wears the I'm Not Daredevil sweater. And so anybody who's ever seen that meme, this is the issue that came from. And it's a good one. Matt rescues, well, sort of rescues, and then gets rescued by a group of blind kids that he takes out, and they get caught in a snowstorm, and it is a bum out. But it is a good issue. So this is not a Christmas issue, but it was a variant that I remember picking up years and years back on Christmas Eve, or it might have been New Year's Eve. Because it was one of those, you know how like New Year's or Christmas Eve, sometimes they only put out like a couple books because they kind of front load everything before the holidays, just in case. But this is one of my favorite covers of all time, particularly in the Christmas variety. And I have it in a spot in the room, which you'll see when I do the tour, and it won't have this cover in the frame because I swap it out. I usually have, they gave away when Islands of Adventure opened up with like the Spider-Man ride and the Doctor Doom ride and the Hulk ride and all that stuff down in Florida, they gave out this like giveaway comic that was about Islands of Adventure, and that is a place that my wife Ashley and I have spent plenty of time in when her family would take us on vacations down to Florida. Our record for riding the Spider-Man ride was like 17 times one time. Anyways, we dig it. And so there's some like stuff that I got while I was down there that's up in the room. And I thought it would be good to have that issue kind of framed in there because it like means something to us. So at Christmas time, I swap it out for this variant cover of Amazing Spider-Man number 700. And it's got the old New Year's Eve party with the old gang going on. It's snowing, and you can see Aunt May's worried because Peter's not there. And then you can see up here that Pete is fighting the Green Goblin in the sky. And I love this cover so much. And yeah, so I have this framed during the holiday season, and I had forgotten to pull that out while I was getting everything kind of together for this video. So there's that. Okay, so this is the book that I will actually be reading tonight, and then, you know, sequentially for the next few nights until we hit Christmas. So let's see, today is the 20th. So for the 20th, I will be reading Uncanny X-Men number 230. You can see there, Joe Rubinstein signed it to me and Henry. This is a fantastic Christmas issue where one of Longshot's... Okay, so Longshot is one of my all-time favorite characters. And one of his powers is that he kind of has this, like... He can sort of, like, touch items and get kind of, like, visions of, like, what the things have been through, if that makes sense, like kind of like how they got where they're at. So obviously during the Outback era, the X-Men are hiding out in the Marauders' old base, and Longshot kind of stumbles upon this room that has a bunch of the loot that the Marauders had stolen from people that they had hurt or killed. And kind of he sort of falls into it and like is kind of met by all of these visions of the people that these items belong to, or their families or whatever. And so the gang decides Gateway is gonna portal him into returning all of these. So they like act as Santa, kind of reaching closure for some of these people in those issues. And so that one is a incredibly touching and really, really, really fantastic Christmas issue that should not be missed. Okay, so on December 1st, I am going to read Uncanny X-Men number 98. And this is the return of the Sentinels. This is a big issue. It opens up with the team, a very famous Dave Cockrum drawn shot of the team at Times Square. You know, they're at Rockefeller Center, and it's very cool. Like years later, I really wanted to go to years and years ago, I really wanted to go and see the Rockefeller Christmas tree lighting, which I did. And I wanted to go to Midtown Comics. Like I'd never been, so I was like, I'm gonna do that. And it was kind of nice to see that little spot here. And you know, anytime the X-Men fight the Sentinels, and I'm looking at the missus just wrapped a box that looks, we've got all the presents staged down here because we were wrapping them downstairs because of the kids, so I can see it. And that one looks like it should be an X-Men 97 Sentinel, which is very exciting. I'm gonna laugh if it's like not. Anyways, you know, just Cockrum drawn X-Men fighting Sentinels in the snow, and this is the kickoff of Jean turning into Phoenix. And it's a fantastic issue on its own, and I am sure pretty much a good chunk of anyone watching this would probably have read that issue or be familiar with it. But what you might not be familiar with is the first 50 or so issues, I'm not 100% sure, of the series Classic X-Men, which reprinted these stories kind of in story order, had backup pages. They had, occasionally they would have extra pages kind of put in to somewhat flesh out and tie in to current continuity of when these would be, like, this looks like it was published in 88, this issue of Classic X-Men. So they're occasionally like, okay, perfect. Like, right here, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this in the video. If I was, like, really good at YouTube and editing, I'd be able to very quickly knock this out. But I am not. I am... this is as good as it's getting, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Come on. Okay, so you see this page here where this Sentinel is splashing out of the water, and you know, Xavier is in a boat with Dr. Peter Corbeau and gets knocked out, and then it cuts to a letters page, an ad, and then it cuts to the X-Men being captured. Okay, now how this works in Classic X-Men is you see that page, but then there is this extra new drawn page that kind of fleshes out where the cast that wasn't immediately dealing with the Sentinels are, and then they sort of get over there, and Hellfire Club, it's just, there's extra bits that kind of fit in there, and then it cuts, like you can see this is two pages of a new story that fits into X-Men number 98 in this classic issue of X-Men. So on top of that, and this, like, that's enough of a draw to pick up the first 50 or so issues of Classic X-Men, not to mention the fact that Classic X-Men has, like, new covers. I dog on, like, the old 60s reprints from 66 or whatever to 93, because I don't want to pay Silver Age prices for these. But these you should be able to find in a dollar bin. So I don't mind getting like new Art Adams covers, and there's a couple extra pages. But the huge draw is there are usually backup stories, like 8-page stories. And normally, I know, if you're reading new comics and there's like backup stuff, you're like, oh God, they're going to charge me $9.99 for this comic, and it's going to be junk written and drawn by, you know, whomever, and it's not going to be great. But these are written by Claremont, and they are drawn by the fantastic John Bolton. So here is the cover to the back. It's signed to me by John Bolton because I met him years ago. He drew me a Nightcrawler. I love it. He is a fantastic artist. These are they were collected in a couple trade paperbacks years ago. They're probably out of print by now, but it was called like X-Men vignettes, and just because they're these tiny like short stories. And this one is great. It's called A Love Story. It's silent, which makes it even more heartbreaking. And it is Jean like walking home through the snow, and she's like at her apartment, and she is getting ready for her date that night with Cyclops. And like, so she's like getting ready, silent issue, like there she is, like telekinetically lifting up like some of Scott's stuff, like she's dancing with him. And she puts on the famous like black dress, which is, you know, what she was eventually, like that issue they wind up like going to space, and then they gotta jump on Star Corps 1 and come home, and that's when she gets hit with the Phoenix Force. And so like Scott is there to pick her up, and she's obviously wearing the dress, and so like they leave, they go out on their date, and then like it's clearly like hours later, and there's a huge explosion, and their picture gets knocked off and like broken, and it's just dude, it's so good. John Bolton is so good. And just, man, she like went out there, like her and Scott are finally, like it's finally happening. And they go on this date. They're both dressed to the nines. It's Christmas time in the city. And we all know how it ends. It's a huge bum out. But man, is it good. It's so good. Okay. So. All right. Speaking of bum outs, on December 22nd, December 22nd, I'll be reading Generation X number 4. And this, let me tell you, the first 4 issues of Generation X should be studied because they are fantastic. They're written by Scott Lobdell, and they are drawn by Chris Picciolo. And this is, there's like 2 versions of Chris Picciolo. Both are great. But this, like, post, I think he might have worked on Sandman or Death or what. Anyways, his style is different back then than what it is now. And again, I say this with an incredible amount of admiration. He's one of my favorite artists. Both versions are excellent. I have a soft spot for his earlier work because it was my introduction, and it's a little moodier. Like now he's a little bit more cartoony, and I sometimes find some of the stuff to be a little muddled, but I don't attribute that to his pencils. I would actually attribute that to inks. I could be wrong, but that's... Anyways, this issue of Generation X, the kids go to town to do some Christmas shopping. The first 4 issues are just... They're so good because these kids were so organically given to us in the Phalanx Covenant story. and they're all fleshed out, and they're all really interesting characters. It is a shame what happened to them. Marvel really dropped the ball on this. And the reason I say the first 4 issues is because, like, the book is firing on all cylinders, and this issue ends with, like, the Emkron crystal destroying the world, and then we get the Age of Apocalypse. So, like, this book just gets off the ground, and then it has to be gone for 4 months, and Generation Next is one of the... There's not a bad book in Age of Apocalypse. However, it was a disservice for this book to have to suddenly just stop what it was doing and then be part of arguably one of the greatest events ever. But still, that's a tough ask for a new book to suddenly just sort of be like, here you are, now you have to completely redo the book for 4 issues. So they go into town, and there is they're sort of like stopped from getting across this bridge. And the cops are basically like, oh, the bridge is out. But our heroes know that this isn't the case. And they're hiding something. And the borders of the pages are done in, like, Christmas wrapping. It's so good. And you find out that basically, like, there is a child who is disfigured. And he just wants to go to school and learn, but the town everybody's like freaked out by him because he doesn't look normal, and so he they all think he's a mutant and that he could harm them, and so he's kind of like holed up in the school with his teacher and some of the other students, and our kids kind of bust in there. Nanny and Orphan Maker, which are 2 totally weird and crazy X-Men characters, are all involved in this too. And the teacher he has a heart condition, and he winds up having a heart attack while this is all going down. Like, the kid doesn't mean to hurt him, but this sort of happens. And then it's like, he's not even a mutant. Like, these people just didn't want him around because he looked different. It's like, this issue has always stuck with me. It hit me at, I was a preteen when this came out. And it, it left an impact. So it's a good one. And it's it's not a cheery Christmas issue, but I still enjoy reading it. All right. Final 3. We're on to December 23rd, or in my house, Die Hard night. December 23rd is where we always watch Die Hard. My mom used to make this like Christmas breakfast casserole thing, and when she passed, my sister started making it for me as my Christmas present, and she drops it off the morning of the 23rd, and that night we watch Die Hard because it is a Christmas movie. I don't care what anybody says. Like, there's no argument. I have read the book that it's based on. The book is also Christmas. The book is wildly different than the movie, though. There's quite a few. I mean, not wildly different, but McClane is much older, and Holly is his daughter, not his wife, and she is in on the heist. Spoilers for a book that you'll probably never read. Okay, so December 23rd, one of my all-time favorite Christmas comics. Marvel Team Up number 79, featuring Spider-Man and Red Sonja. And this is a John Byrne drawn masterpiece. Just, man, look at the negative space of, Cool and Goth. Man, so good. Inked by Terry. Byrne and Austin are the dream team. They're the Lennon and McCartney. Well, no, because I mean, to me, the Lennon and McCartney is Claremont and Byrne, but Austin, George Harrison, and the Ringo of the group, Tom Orzechowski lettering, which is necessary. I have met Tom Orzechowski on multiple occasions and have told him that his handwriting is by far the most handwriting I've ever read in my entire life. Like, if cumulatively, I've probably read that dude's handwriting more than I've read my own. Anyways, man, so good. MJ and Pete wind up going to the Natural History Museum, and this takes place on Friday, December 22nd. Man, I should switch reading this on the 23rd or the 20th. Looks like Generation X and Marvel Team Up are getting switched. I got to read this on the 22nd. That's how that's going down. Anyways, MJ basically gets possessed and become, like, body swapped with Red Sonja, and they have to go against Cool and Goth. And so it is just this beautifully drawn, like, I mean, come on, man. Byrne's the best. And Cool and Goth is such a fun, like, villain. And it's the winter solstice, and it's, oh man. I'm not even talking about anything right now because I am just looking at these pencils, and it's badass. Seriously. Do yourself a favor, and if you've got anyone that is looking for a Christmas gift for you this year, ask them to find you a copy of Marvel Team Up 79, because it's my favorite issue of Marvel Team Up, and I don't know. I'm going to read it in like 2 days, and I'll get back to you. But this might be in my top 10. I mean, picking out my top 10 favorite comics of all time would be really difficult, but I have a blast with this one. It is a lot of fun. Okay. Christmas Eve. What better story to read than Uncanny X-Men number 143, where the X-Men callously leave poor Jewish Kitty Pryde home alone on Christmas Eve so that she can fight one of the Nagari demon. However, it's such a, like, the night before Christmas tale, and she's alone in the house, and she's a kid, and this is another, okay, so as I'm flipping through this, Claremont is so good during that early, like, first 70 issues of X-Men, of, like, of getting you invested. He is, like, so good at getting you invested in characters. Like, because there's a couple that, like, in this story are going, dude, it is one page. They're in one page, and it's a young couple that's going out in the woods to cut down a Christmas tree, and the gal's like, well, Douglas, like, what? And he's like, this is the tradition, like, we're just starting out in our lives, and, like, this is what I want to do. We're going to do this every year. We're going to go out, we're going to cut our own Christmas tree down. And so they're clearly in love, like, clearly newlyweds or fresh in their relationship. And he goes to kind of, like, look through the trees and find the tree that he wants to pick out for him and his wife, and he gets attacked by the Nagari demon, and the Nagari demon kills him, and then it kills this gal, and, like, they are literally in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 panels, and you feel for them, man. Like, it breaks my heart reading this. Look at that title page. So good. So good. Yeah, so Kitty is left alone with this Nagari demon, and it is basically cat and mouse. It's she's John McClane, the Nagari demon is Hans Gruber, and they're going back and forth. And you know, you gotta check out it's a classic. It's so good, so good. Okay, so Christmas morning, presents are opened. Christmas Story is playing on a loop in the background. And I bust out Uncanny X-Men number 341. Cannonball versus Gladiator. This was a Christmas issue that came out while, like, most of these classic Claremont stories obviously came out, you know, I mean, let's see. I'm pretty sure that the Nagari Demon one came out like right before I was born. So most of those all before I was born. And so this was like a year after the Generation X issue. This was 96. And I loved, one of my favorite issues is X-Force 44. It's hanging up on them. It's the one where Cannonball graduates. It's written by Jeff Loeb and drawn by Adam Polina. Adam Polina, so good. So good. And it's the issue where, like, Cannonball graduates from X-Force New Mutants to become an X-Men. He gets the cool blue and gold costume, which he's wearing in this one. And I just liked, at the time, like, I was, you know, I hadn't seen any of the kids, like, graduate to become... the only one I'd seen was like Jubilee go from being an X-Men to them being like, you should probably join Generation X. We've been throwing you into way too many adult things, and you should probably take it down a notch. And so it was really nice. I really liked Cannonball. It's a great character, and you know, it was nice to see him elevated. So in this issue, you'll recognize that setting. It kind of does a play on that with the current team where they're checking out Times Square, or sorry, Rockefeller Center. There's a cameo by Punisher, and Cannonball is like, oh, I'm gonna split up from you guys because I gotta go pick up some toys, some things, some Christmas gifts, last minute Christmas gifts for the Guthrie clan, which there are aplenty. And all of a sudden a portal opens up and Gladiator comes through. And he's not necessarily looking for a fight. He's actually looking for help, but in typical like superhero fashion, you know, you got to have the punch up first. There's a little meta thing where like Rogue and Magneto are floating in a carriage past the Marvel offices, where an overworked editor-in-chief then decides that he's had enough. And the issue is just great because, you know, my entire life reading, I love Gladiator, and he's, you know, invincible. And here's this young kid who actually, like, takes it to him. And it's just a great, like, Cannonball versus Gladiator fight. And really what he is doing is Gladiator was coming here to pick up the X-Men because there's something bad going on in the Shi'ar galaxy, and so he needs some help. And so that's this issue. And I read this issue because when I was a kid getting into comics, this was the first like Christmas issue that was like, oh, this is Christmas. And so ever since this book came out in 1996, I have read it every Christmas day. And that is one of my weird Christmas traditions. And I love it. And I will continue it until I can't. So, I think... Oh, duh. Okay, so those are my Christmas... Like, if this was an advent calendar, that is me opening these up. Although I gotta switch that... that Generation X one in the Red Sonja. That one's getting flip-flopped. Okay, so then I would be remiss if I didn't mention some other notable classics. And you can't see it, but you will when I do the room tour. There's like an island in here with a couple short boxes on it, and it has like Champions, Defenders, like X-Men adjacent stuff, because this side is all X-Men stuff. And in here I have like your Marvel Premieres, your Marvel Comics Presents, Marvel Fanfare, all the stuff that isn't like I'd have... You know, it's not necessarily, everything's kind of cornered off in characters in the rest of the room. And this stuff is kind of, you know, your Marvel Feature, Marvel Premiere, Marvel Fanfare, Marvel Superhero Secret Wars, Marvel Contest of Champions. And I have Marvel Holiday here. And this is where I keep Marvel Fanfare. This is where I keep the holiday books. And that would be... holiday books that aren't in, you know, like Amazing Spider-Man 166 is obviously filed after 165. But these are when they used to do these fun Marvel specials. And this one, since this is the first Marvel holiday special that I ever had as a kid, has like a list on the back of all the regular issues. So I know to go here first at Christmas time to bust out all the other ones that I would normally read. So that's 91 or 92, 93. And all of these have like fantastic short stories in them. You know, these are more like compilations with like little like 2-page to 8-page stories. This is a Marvel holiday special from 1994, and this one here with Beast and Iceman. There is, I have it hanging up because it's sentimental to me, which I'll get into when I do the room tour. But there's a Bizarre Adventures that I have hanging up. I have 2 copies of it. That one's signed by Bob Layton. And that's why, and it was the one that I got when I was a kid, and that's why it's framed. But that has an Iceman Christmas story in it, so I tend to bust that one out at Christmas time too. And I don't know why I didn't pull it out for this, but some of the stories are reprinted in other things. Spider-Man Holiday Special when Ben Reilly was doing it. Marvel Holidays, but you know, all these fun, they put them out every couple of years or every year. Okay, or they'll at least drop one, I think. Marvel Adventures Spider-Man, another Marvel Spider-Man, this one. Okay, so this is a Marvel X-Men. They did this a few years back, and it was kind of like an Advent thing. I believe this is the one that's like that. Yeah, so every page is it's like 1-page stories, and some of them are good, all by different creators. Some of them are good, some of them are terrible. There's one here in this there's a really good Glob Herman one in this, December 18th. Where is it? Okay. December 22nd. Blue Christmas, and it's a Beast one, and this one, when this came out, I almost threw out this comic because it made me so mad. But it's Beast like visiting his parents, and he's like looking through his room, and he's obviously blue and furry, and he's looking at like the pictures of him as the football star and at the science fair, and he overhears his parents talking about like the changes that have happened to Beast, and and they're kind of like worried about what everybody else is gonna think, and sort of like, oh, you know, like like they're talking about how they thought they'd have grandchildren by now, and like Hank's dad is like, oh, but they'd probably be blue and fur. Anyways, point is, historically, and trust me, I've read everything. Hank's parents loved him unconditionally throughout the history of X-Men. They were one of the few examples of parents that absolutely, no joke, had 0 issue with Henry McCoy being an X-Men. They were, bar none, canonically excellent parents, and this is one of the things that frustrates me about newer books. I understand the argument of like, to get new readers, we've got to kind of drop some continuity, but to paint Hank McCoy's parents as bigots was a disservice to the character. And it is not established in anything. His parents, if anything, are the example of how you should respond to something like that. So that always pissed me off. So I just you could have used any other character and it would have been fine, but not Hank McCoy. The McCoy parents were anything but, and we're very accepting of Henry McCoy and very proud of him, and never ever had an issue. And I know that because I have read every X-Men book ever published. Trade paperback of Marvel Team Up #1, Uncanny X-Men 143, Amazing Spider-Man 314. Crap, I didn't pull that one out either. Man, I gotta bust that one out. I got some reading to do. That one has a great, what is it? Is it McFarlane? Yep, it's Todd McFarlane. I just actually picked that issue up because I was like, I need to get this, so I'm gonna bust that out. Holiday Tales to Astonish. I think this one has a fun Wolverine teaching some of the kids hockey issue in this. Oh man, there's like a good Bamf story. There's a Kitty Pryde story in here. Okay, so no, that's not the one that I was thinking of. But this one, I'm busting all these out. I'm gonna be up so late. There's a great Phil Noto drawn Fantastic Four one in this. And then I recently covered this one, this Spider-Man Holiday Spectacular recently, because this is relatively new. You could probably still find this at your shop, and it was excellent. Really good Spider-Man tale. So yeah, that's a ton of holiday classics that I'm going to be taking upstairs with the ones that I have left to read. And I've still got to read my other non-Christmas tradition books. A lot of stuff to get in the next couple of days. So this has, man, when I put this all together, it's probably been an hour. But hey, if you love Christmas, you won't mind, right? I got to wrap this up. I'm going to drop this one, and then I will be back in a couple days with my non-Christmas tradition. And then we got the Christmas Eve bike ride up to the shop for new comics, and I'll talk about the books that I liked last week. So that's kind of the setup for the show. Please, in the comments, let me know what you make sure that you read if you do celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or any holiday around this time period. If there's any holiday specific comics that you read, let me know what they are. I'd love to hear it. I'm always looking for other holiday comics to add to this. I know everybody's like, but you know, added a spirit. And I had a buddy send me a bunch of like a Savage Dragon and a Simpsons, because we've been doing this little Advent thing online. So anyways, let me know in the comments if there's stuff that you do specifically or things that you read at this time period of year, Christmas related. Please like the video. I'd appreciate that. And subscribe. That would be awesome. Let's get 1 or 2 more of those. All right, I gotta wrap this up. I got Rankin and Bass specials to watch. All right, I will see you in a few days. Happy holidays, and yeah, you know, hope everyone has a great holiday. And thanks for tagging along to learn about what books I cram into 25 days. And I will talk to you later. Bye.